It's you, Christine. There's no one else outside, so... I'm so glad you've come.
I heard you're at my room asking for me.
Yes, I just happened to be passing. I wanted to ask you to help me with something. Let's sit down here on the sofa. Look at this. There's going to be a fancy dress ball tomorrow night at Consul Stenborg's house. And Torvald wants me to go as a Neapolitan fisher girl and dance the tarantella. I learned to Capri.
Are you going to give a performance?
Yes, Torvald says I should. Look, here's the dress. Torvald had it made for me in Italy, but now it's also torn. Oh no.
We'll soon put that right. The stitching's just come away. Needle and thread? Here we are.
You're being awfully sweet.
So, you're going to dress up tomorrow, Nora. I must pop over for a moment to see how you look. Oh, but I completely forgot to thank you for the nice evening.
I didn't think it was as nice as usual. You ought to have come to town a little earlier, Christine. Yes, Torvald understands how to make a home look attractive.
I'm sure you do too. You're not your father's daughter for nothing. But tell me, is Dr. Rank always in such low spirits as he was last night?
No. Last night it was very noticeable, but he's got a terrible disease. He's got spinal tuberculosis, the poor man. His father was an awful creature who kept mistresses and so on. As a result, Dr. Rank's been sick ever since he was a child. You understand?
But my dear Nora, how do you know such matters?
Oh, don't be silly, Christine. When one has 3 children, one comes into contact with women who know about medical matters and they tell one a thing or two.
Does Dr. Rank visit you every day?
Yes, every day. He's Torvald's oldest friend and a good friend to me too. Dr. Rank's almost one of the family.
But tell me, is he quite sincere? I mean, doesn't he rather say the sort of thing he thinks people want to hear?
No, quite the contrary. What gave you that idea?
When you introduced him to me last night, he said he'd often heard my name said around here. But later, I noticed your husband had no idea who I was. So how could Dr. Rank?
Yes, that's quite right, Christine. You see, Torvald's so hopelessly in love with me that he wants to have me all to himself. Those were his very words. When we first got married, he got quite jealous if I even as much as mentioned any of my old friends back home, so naturally I stopped talking about them. But I often chat with Dr. Rank about that kind of thing. He enjoys it, you see.
Now, listen, Nora. In many ways, you're still a child. I'm a little bit older than you and have a little bit more experience of the world. Something I want to say to you. You ought to give up this business with Dr. Rank.
What business?
Well, everything. Last night you were talking about a rich admirer of yours who was going to give you money.
Yes, and who doesn't exist, unfortunately. But what's that got to do with...
Is Dr. Rank rich?
Yes.
And he has no dependents?
No, no one.
And he comes to see you every day?
Yes, I've told you.
How dare a man of his education be so forward?
What on earth are you talking about?
Stop pretending, Nora. Do you think I haven't guessed who lent you the £200?
Are you out of your mind? A friend. Someone who comes here every day. That would be an impossible situation.
Then it really wasn't him.
No. I'd never for a moment dream of... Anyway, he hadn't the money to lend then. He didn't come into that until later.
Well, I think that's a lucky thing for you, Nora dear.
No, I could never dream of asking Dr. Rank. But I'm sure that if I did ask him...
But of course you won't.
No, of course not. I can't imagine it should ever become necessary. But I'm perfectly sure that if I did speak to Dr.
Behind your husband's back.
Well, I've got to get out of this other business first. And that's been going on behind his back. I've got to get out of it.
Yes, well, I told you that yesterday.
It's much easier for a man to arrange these things than a woman.
One's own husband,
Oh,
yes.
don't be ridiculous. When you've completely repaid your debt, you get your IOU back, don't you?
Yes, of course.
And then you can tear it into 1,000 pieces and burn the filthy, beastly thing.
Nora, you're hiding something from me.
Can you see that?
Something has happened since yesterday evening. Nora, what is
Christine. Shh. Torvald's here. Would you mind going into the nursery for a few moments? Torvald can't bear to see sewing around. Anne-Marie will help you.
Very well. But I'm not leaving until we've talked this matter out.
Krogstad said he'd do it. He'll do it. He'll do it and nothing will stop him. No, never that. I'd rather anything. There must be some escape, some way out. Dr. Rank, anything but that. Anything. I don't care. Good evening, Dr. Rank. I recognise your ring, but you mustn't go into Torvald yet. I think he's busy.
Oh, and you?
Oh, you know very well I'm always trying to talk to you.
Thank you. I shall avail myself of that privilege, as long as I can.
What do you mean by that? As long as you can.
Yes. Does that frighten you?
Well, it's a rather curious expression. Is something going to happen?
Something I've been expecting to happen for a long time. But I didn't think it would happen quite so soon.
What is it? Dr. Rank, you must tell me.
I'm on the way out. And there's nothing to be done about it.
Oh, it's you.
Who else? No, it's no good lying to oneself. I'm the most wretched of all my patients, Mrs. Helmer. The last few days I've been going through the books of this poor body of mine, and I find I am bankrupt. Within a month, I may be rotting up there in the churchyard.
What a nasty way to talk.
That sounds exactly nice. What's nasty is that there's so much else that's got to come first. I've only one more test to make, and then should have a pretty accurate idea of when the final disintegration is likely to begin. I want to ask you a favour. I know Homer's a sensitive chap and how he hates anything ugly. I don't want him to visit me when I'm in hospital.
Oh, but Dr. Rank.
I don't want him there. On any pretext, I shan't have him allowed in. As soon as I know the worst, I'll send you my visiting card with a black cross in it. And then you'll know the final filthy process has begun.
Really, you're being quite impossible this evening. And I did hope you'd be in a good mood.
Death on my hands? And all this to atone for someone else's sin? Is there justice in that? And in every family, the same merciless law of retribution is at work.
Nonsense. Cheer up. Laugh.
Yes, you're right. Left all the damn things fit for. My spine must pay for the fun my father had as a gay young lieutenant.
You mean he was too fond of asparagus and foie gras?
Yes. And truffles too.
Yes, of course. Truffles, yes. And oysters too, I suppose.
Yes, oysters. Oysters, of course.
And all that port and champagne to wash them down. It's too sad all those lovely things should affect one's spine.
Especially a poor spine that never got any pleasure out of them.
Yes, that's the saddest thing of all. Why did you smile?
No, it was you who laughed.
No, it was you who smiled, Dr. Ryan.
You're a worse little rogue than I thought.
I'm full of stupid tricks today.
So it seems.
Dr. Ryan, you mustn't die and leave Torvalds with me.
Oh, you'll soon get over it. Once one is gone, one is soon forgotten.
Do you believe that?
One finds a replacement.
Who will find a replacement?
You know my both will. You seem to have made a start already. What was this Mrs. Lynn doing here yesterday
But
evening?
surely you can't be jealous of poor Christine.
Indeed I am. She will be my successor in the household. When I am gone, she will...
Shh, don't speak so loud. She's in there.
There again. You see?
Oh, she's only come to mend my dress. Good heavens, how unreasonable you are. Be nice now, Dr. Ryan. Tomorrow you'll see how I shall dance. And you must imagine I'm doing it just for you. And for Torvald, of course.
When I sit like this, being so intimate with you, I can't imagine what would have become of me had I never entered this house.
Yes, I think you enjoy being with us, don't you?
And now, I have to leave it all,
Nonsense. You're not leaving us.
not to be able to leave even the most wretched token of gratitude behind, hardly even a passing sense of loss, only empty space to be filled by the next comer.
Suppose I were to ask you to... No.
To do what?
To give me proof of your friendship.
Yes, yes.
No, I mean to do me a very great service.
Would you, for once, grant me that happiness?
But you've no idea what it is.
Very well. Tell me then.
Oh no, but Dr. Rank, I can't. It's far too much. I want your help and your advice, and I want you to do something for me.
The more the better. Do tell me. You do trust me, don't you?
Oh yes, more than anyone. You're my best and truest friend. Otherwise, I couldn't tell you. Well, then, Dr. Rank, there's something you must help me to prevent. You know how Torvald loves me, and he'd never hesitate for an instant to lay down his life.
Nora, do you think he's the only one
What do you mean?
who would gladly lay down his life for you?
Oh, I see.
I swore I'd let you know that before I go. I shall never have a better opportunity. Well, now you know that. Now you also know you can trust me as you can trust nobody else.
Let me pass to you.
Nora,
Dr. Rank, this was really horrid of you.
that I've loved you as nobody else has? Was that horrid of me?
No, but that you should go and tell me, that was quite unnecessary.
Oh, what do you mean? Did you know this? Nora, Mrs. Helmer, I'm asking you, did you know this?
Oh, what do I know? What did I know? What didn't I know? I really can't say. How could you be so stupid, Dr. Rank? Everything was so nice.
Well, at any rate, now you know I'm ready to serve you, body and soul, so please go on.
After this.
Please, tell me what it is.
I can't possibly tell you now.
You mustn't punish me like this. Let me be allowed to do what I can for you.
You can't do anything for me now. Anyway, I don't need any help. It's all in my imagination. It's really, you'll see. Honestly.
Torvald, it's been so long for you to come back.
Is that the dressmaker?
No, it was Christine. She was helping me amend my costume and going to look rather splendid in that.
Yes, that was quite a bright idea of mine, wasn't it?
Wonderful, but wasn't it nice of me to give in to you?
Nice? To give in to your husband? Alright, little silly, I know you didn't mean it like that. Expect to be wanting to try it on.
Are you going to work now?
Yes. Look at these, I've been down to the bank.
Torvald,
Yes.
if little squirrel asks you really prettily to grant her a wish,
Well,
would you grant it to her?
first I should naturally have to know what the wish is.
Your little squirrel will do lots of pretty tricks for you if you granted her a wish.
Out with it then.
Your little skylark could sing in every room.
My little skylark does that already.
I'd turn myself into a fairy and dance for you in the moonlight, Torvald.
Nora, it isn't that business you were talking about this morning, is it?
Yes, Torvald, you must do
Have
as
you
I
really the
ask.
nerve to bring that up again?
Yes, you must let Cogsec keep his place at the bank.
But, my dear Nora, his is the job I'm giving to Mrs. Lind.
And that's terribly sweet of you, but you can get rid of one of the other clerks instead of Cogsec.
Really, you're being incredibly obstinate. Just because you thoughtlessly promised to put a good word in for Krogstad, you expect me to...
No, it isn't that, Helmer. It's for your own sake. That man writes for the most beastly newspapers. You said so yourself. He could do you tremendous harm. I'm so dreadfully frightened of him.
Oh, I understand. Memories of the past. That's what's frightening you.
What do you mean?
Well, you're thinking of your father, aren't you?
Yes, of course. Just think about what those men wrote in the newspapers about Papa. The most frightful slanders. I really believe it would have lost him his job if the ministry hadn't sent you down to investigate. You hadn't been so kind and helpful to him.
But, my dear little Nora, there's a considerable difference between your father and me. Your father was not a man of unsayable reputation, but I am, and I hope to remain so all my life.
But no one knows that spiteful people may not dig up. We could be so peaceful and happy now, Torvald. We could be free from every worry, you and I and the children. Please, Torvald, I beg of you.
The very fact of you pleading his cause makes it impossible for me to keep him. Everyone at the bank already knows that I intend to dismiss Krogstad. If the rumour got out that the new vice president had allowed his wife to persuade him to change his mind.
Well, what then?
Oh, nothing. Nothing. As long as little Miss Obstinate gets her way. Do you expect me to make a laughingstock out of myself in front of my entire staff, giving people the idea that I'm open to an outside influence? Believe me, I'd soon feel the consequences. Besides, there's something else that makes it impossible for Krogstad to remain in the bank while I'm its manager.
What is that?
I might have conceivably allowed myself to ignore his moral obloquies.
Torvald, surely.
And I hear he's quite efficient at his job. But we were school friends. It was one of those friendships that one enters into over hastily and then comes to regret it later in life. I might as well confess the truth. We're on Christian name terms, and the tactless idiot makes no attempt to conceal it when any other people are present. He shows off the whole time with Torvald this and Torvald that. I can tell you I'd find it damned annoying. If he'd stay, he'd make my position intolerable.
Torvald, you can't mean this seriously.
Oh, and why not?
But it's so petty.
Petty? What did you say? You think I'm petty?
No, Torvald, of course you're not.
Don't quibble. You call me petty, you call my motives petty. Petty. I see. Well, I've had enough of this.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to settle this matter once and for all. Helen, take this letter down to the bank. Find a messenger and see that he delivers it immediately. The address is on the front.
Torvald, what was in that letter?
Krogstad's dismissal.
Call her back, Torvald. There's still time. Do it for my sake, for your own sake, for the sake of the children. Please, Torvald, you don't realise what this may do to us all.
Too late.
Yes, too late.
Nora, I forgive you this anxiety. Though, isn't it a bit of an insult to imply that I should be frightened by the vindictiveness of a deprived hat journalist? But I forgive you, because it charmingly testifies the love that you bear me. Let what will happen, happen. When the real crisis comes, you will not find me lacking in strength or courage. I am man enough to bear the burden for both of us.
What do you mean?
The whole burden, I say.
I shall never let you do that.
Very well. We shall share it, Nora. As man and wife. And that's the way it should be. You happy now? There. Don't look at me with those frightened little eyes. Simply imagining things. You go ahead now and do your tarantella and get some practice on that tambourine. I'll go to my study and close the door. And you can make all the noise you want. If Dr. Rank comes, tell him where to find me.
Speak quietly. My husband's at home.
Let him hear.
What do you want then?
Information.
Hurry up then. What is it?
I suppose you know I've been given the sack.
Oh, Mr. Krogstad, I did my best for you, but it didn't
Does
help.
your husband love you so little? He knows what I can do to you, and yet he dares.
Surely you don't think I told him?
No. I didn't really think you had. Wouldn't have been like my old friend Torvald Helm to show that much courage.
Mr. Krogstad, I'll trouble you to speak respectfully of my husband.
I'll show him all the respect he deserves. Since you're so anxious to keep this little matter hushed up, I presume you're better informed than you were yesterday of the gravity of what you've done.
I've learned more than you could ever teach me.
Oh, a bad lawyer like me.
What do you want from me?
I just wanted to see how things were with you, Mrs. Helmer. Even duns and hack journalists have hearts, you know.
Show some heart then. Think of my little children.
Have you and your husband thought of mine? Well, let's forget that. I just wanted to tell you You don't need to take this business too seriously. I'm not going to take any action for the present.
Oh, no, you won't, will you? I knew it.
It can all be settled quite amicably. There's no reason for it to become public. We'll keep it among the three of us.
My husband must never know about this.
How can you stop him? Can you pay the balance of what you owe me?
Not immediately.
Have you any means of raising the funds in the next few days?
None that I would care to use.
Well, it wouldn't have helped anyway. However much money you offered me now, I wouldn't give you back that paper.
What are you going to do with it?
I'll just keep it. No one else need ever hear about it. So in case you were thinking of doing anything desperate,
I am.
such as running away,
I am.
or anything more desperate,
How did you know?
just give up the idea.
How did you know?
Most of us think of that at first. I did, but I hadn't the courage.
Neither have I.
It's true though, isn't it? You haven't the courage either.
No, I haven't. I haven't.
It'd be a stupid thing to do anyway. Once the first little domestic explosion is over. There's a letter here in my pocket addressed to your husband.
Tell him everything.
As delicately as possible.
My husband must never see that letter. Tear it up. I'll find the money for you
I'm
somehow.
sorry, Mrs. Helmer. I thought I'd explained.
I'm not the money I owe you. Let me know how much you want from my husband, and I'll find it
I'm
for
not
you.
asking your husband for money.
What do you want then?
Mrs. Helmer.
What do you want then?
I'll tell you. I want to get back on my feet again, Mrs. Helmer. I want to get to the top. Your husband is going to help me. For 18 months now, my record has been clean. I've been in hard straits all that time. I was content to fight my way back to the top, inch by inch, but now I've been chucked back into the mud. And I'm not going to be satisfied with just getting back my job, no. I am going to get to the top, I tell you. I'm going to get back into the bank, and it's going to be higher up. Your husband will create a new job for me.
He would never do that.
Oh yes, he would. I know him. He wouldn't dare to risk a scandal. And once I'm in there with him, you'll see. Within a year, I'll be his right-hand man. It'll be Niels Krogstad running that bank, not Torvald Helmer.
I would never do that.
Are you thinking?
Now I have the courage.
You can't frighten me. A pampered little pretty like you.
You'll see, you'll see.
Under the ice. Down in the cold black water. To float up again in the spring. Ugly. Unrecognizable.
You can't frighten
And
me.
you can't frighten me. People don't do such things, Mrs. Helmer. And besides, what would be the use?
But afterwards, when I'm
Have
no
you
longer...
forgotten that then your reputation will be in my hands? Well, I've warned you. Don't do anything silly. When Helmer's read my letter, he'll get in touch with me. And remember, it's your husband who's forced me to act like this. And for that, I will never forgive him.